he will be back. You were not particularly surprised by this.
No, I think I was on with Colin a couple of weeks ago, right after they fell down 3-0, and said that I didn't see them making a change. It's not the way the Boston Celtics operate in general. They talk a lot about making changes and then don't. But with Brad Stevens being a former head coach, I figured he would have a certain amount of sympathy for Joe Mazzulla stepping into that seat for the first time. And look, they've been churning the head coaching position a little bit here over the last couple of years. They might want a little stability.
Let's stay with the Celtics real quick. Jaylen Brown, 8 baskets, 8 turnovers in Game 7.
Yeah.
All NBA team, looking at a super max.
Yeah.
I think it's a no-brainer. I think you keep them together and keep the continuity. Other people, not so much. But I'll say this, Rick. Is it easier to unload him now?
Yeah.
Or do you give him the Supermax and you give it another year and then you offload him because the market opens up? A lot more teams willing to trade for Jaylen Brown with 3 or 4 years left on his deal. Maybe an Orlando would be interested. I'm just throwing out Orlando because that's what people do, Orlando Magic.
Well, in general, if you have a guy signed up long-term, it opens up your possibility of being able to deal him because people know what they're getting and they know how long they're going to have it. So it is a tricky proposition for all. I mean, everybody after the loss, everybody was like, you got to break up Tatum and Brown and you got to change things up. And being the Boston Celtics, where the bar is set winning championships, I'm not mad at that logic. I also understand the other side of it, though, which is they've had this unbelievable success. These guys are 25, 26 years old. And so do you risk that? Here's the problem, and it is because of the Supermax. It is because of the success, individual success those two guys have had. If you pay Brown and Tatum, that's your pay. Like, they've got to get you there now, and the supporting cast that you have now, you're not going to be able to afford. So if you believe that these guys can elevate themselves and they can make other guys better as opposed to getting better guys to make them better, then I say go ahead, pay them. That's where you place your bet. I'm not convinced in the same way that when we looked at Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook, like we're like two great individual talents. But can that combination win you a championship? Or is there always a little bit of friction there because of just the dynamics of how they play? That's what I see in Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. So if you're happy, just like you're always going to the playoffs, which a lot of teams would take what Boston Celtics have had. If you're happy with that, then load up on them and you know that you're guaranteed to be good.
There was also some duplication with LeBron and Wade. Not total duplication, but they also had Bosh to blame all. He was the fall guy anytime things went awry. Well, Bosh, come on, hey, you're not doing anything.
Well, but there was also, like, LeBron was at heart a playmaker, and Dwayne Wade at heart is a shooting guard. And they also had a very unique relationship where Dwayne Wade was going to push LeBron James. This is one of my issues with Jason and Jaylen. Like, who's the driving force there? Are they making each other better? I know they like each other. I know they work out with each other. I know they're both hard workers. But is there somebody who's saying, hey, you're not good enough right now. You're not playing well enough right now. Do they have the ability to say that to each other and demand more? And I just haven't seen that.
Do you think Brad Stevens would do this often rumored deal, Jaylen Brown and something for Damian Lillard and something?
I do not see that. I do not see that happening. No. The difficulty is, and again, much like KD and Russ, like Jason Tatum has been anointed the best player. And talent-wise, I don't argue with that. But Jaylen Brown is the more aggressive, plays and acts like a number one. So how do you get around that conundrum? And that, for me, is you take the risk. If you want to play for championships, you got to break that up and you got to come up with a different formula.
We'll get to the finals in a sec. I want to go to the Suns. They still don't have a coach unless it happened in the last 30 seconds. Coaching Booker and Durant. You would think that's more appealing than going to Philly, or you think that's more appealing than the Bucks, both who have major questions this offseason. Like, why is this job not filled? What are you hearing?
I I haven't heard a word about who they might be going after at this point. But I think they're one of the reasons that they haven't been aggressive in going out and getting somebody is because there's still another shoe to drop, which is what are you going to do with DeAndre Ayton? Like they have to make that move before they can do anything else. And one of the interesting rumors that I've heard.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah. I wasn't going to save this, but you know what, J-Mac?
Fire away.
This is for you.
Yeah.
Is the idea of trading DeAndre Ayton to the Dallas Mavericks for Kyrie Irving.
Oh, jeez.
That more so than seeing Kyrie go to the Lakers, it makes a ton of sense.
For who?
Certainly for the Dallas Mavericks.
Getting DeAndre Ayton?
Oh, yeah. DeAndre Ayton next to Luka Doncic makes a lot more sense than Kyrie Irving. One, you've got a rim protector. You've got some size. You have a guy who's happily being the number 2 that doesn't need the ball to operate. And it validates having traded Dorian Finney-Smith and the pieces that they sent and Spencer Dinwiddie and the picks to the Brooklyn Nets because you couldn't get DeAndre Ayton for Dorian Finney-Smith and Spencer Dinwiddie and what they sent to the Nets. So getting Kyrie Irving now becomes, but look, we got DeAndre Ayton. So just a rumor. Not reporting that it's going to happen, I mean, but to me, it makes a lot of sense for both sides. And Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving reunited, and as we've seen,
that worked out so well. Just worked out swimmingly in Brooklyn.
I'm not saying that I would do it, but Matt Ishbia, the new owner, has demonstrated that he likes to swing for the fences, and this would certainly be that.
If you thought that was the least likable team in the league before, are they keeping Chris Paul in this scenario? By the way.
No, I believe you. I don't know that you could keep Chris Paul in that.
I think that would be the least likable team in the league. I mean, Devin Booker is so mouthy. I mean, come on. And then Kyrie Irving, who knows when he's showing up? I shouldn't bash.
I will say it's difficult to know how to interpret it, but kicking Monty Williams to the curb and the unbothered by Devin Booker, I'm not 100% sure what he meant, but. Not knowing what he meant, I don't feel good about. Monty Williams didn't deserve that. Whatever happened, he didn't deserve that.
Yeah. All right, one last one before the finals. Bob Myers steps down.
Yeah.
Or was pushed out. I don't know.
No,
he was really unclear.
Was definitely not pushed out.
So he had an offer on the table.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
He could have stayed.
So why?
It was the worst. It was the worst kept rumor that he was looking to leave because he was worn out. And he also faced the very difficult proposition of you're going to have to break up the big 3. And he came in and grew up and won championships with these guys. And most GMs take the approach, I'm not going to have a relationship with my players because I'm going to get to a point where I have to trade them and I need to be cold-hearted about it. And Bob decided, I'm not going to do that. And it served them well because when things flared up between Steve Kerr and Draymond Green or Draymond and Jordan Poole or whatever, all of and half a dozen other things that haven't been reported, he was able to go to those players and say, hey, we have to resolve this. Mm-hmm. Well, the downside of it is now you're at a point where you got to look at Steph Curry and say, yeah, I just traded Klay Thompson and Draymond Green. And Bob said, I'd rather spend time with my kids than have to do that.
It feels like a massive undertaking there. It's not. I don't think it's a great job. I know that sounds crazy. I don't think it's a great job right now.
I would agree with you because the bar is set so high.
Yeah.
And people look, I'm working with people here who believe that as long as you have Steph and Klay and Dre and Steve Kerr, they're still going to be a championship contender.
Yeah, I buy that.
I do not. I don't. Seeing Klay, look, Klay's not Klay anymore. Dre's not Dre anymore. And the championship teams that they have, remember, strength in numbers? Like, they don't have that same depth. It's can they reinvent themselves around Steph Curry? Yes, I believe they can. But there's a lot of work to be done.
All right, finals. Everybody and their mom is picking Denver. They are the 3rd largest favorite in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
Miami, obviously, 7-game series, grueling, Jimmy Butler, by the way, I know people aren't talking about it. Rick, last 4 games against Boston, he shot like 35%.
Yeah.
He's tired. He's exhausted. Now you got to go to altitude.
You've had diminishing returns for sure.
A 9-point spread tonight. Is there any case that the Heat can win this series? Like, what is that? Like, they have nobody to guard Jokic, obviously.
Yeah.
Bam ain't going to guard him. Like, remember, Anthony Davis could not guard him. I can't, I don't know what the path to victory here is unless they keep making threes, which is unsustainable.
Well, yeah. So look, we didn't expect them to beat the Bucks. The Knicks were the one team I expected them to beat. I didn't expect them initially to beat Boston. And then when the way Boston came out, I changed my tune. My heart wants